Good day. I'm Jonathan Bay of the MoorishDirectory.com, and this is Moor Talk, episode 7. In this episode, I'm going to ask if you could please excuse me for not always looking directly into the camera. And the reason for that is, actually, there's two reasons. One is that I'm pretty much reaching a level of exhaustion from having worked on an important matter all night long. So having been up for over 48 hours at this particular juncture has, brought for me some very natural fatigue. But more importantly is that the subject matter in which we're going to deal with today in this episode 7 is one where I felt that there were some important notes that needed to be taken and followed so as not to miss or leave anything out that would be of critically important content. Because when you're dealing with things that are extremely important, as the forthcoming discussion is going to be, or proclamation, it needs to be addressed with specificity. All right. Now, there are always those circumstances in those major historical milestones in which someone has to step up and take the responsibility to identify and effectuate an appropriate course correction on a matter, or define where we are in our process of going forward. Many of you have heard me repeat that the term or phrase religious and or religion can be viewed or broken down as a compound communication device, a compound worthy of inspecting in order to ascertain its actual meaning, re-legioning, or realigning, reunifying, reconnecting oneself to the mindset or condition or proper configuration of one's ancient forebearers in a proper manner, comprehending one's reality. The proper mindset of those with whom you are genetically, naturally connected. Reconnecting to that group or that legion of which you were once not simply aligned, but consciously connected to. So it's a matter of restructuring one's mindset on an actual biological level. Because a major aspect of our victimization has been that we have been purposefully short-circuited to the same mental architecture of our ancient forebearers is what needs to be reconstructed in our minds on a biological level. Actual reconnecting of synapses that have been, through that short-circuiting, forced to be rewired in a manner in which is not natural for us. So it is a process. Religion or religion means relegioning oneself to that which you were once connected to, or to the mental architecture in which you once had the capacity to operate from. What we're going to be doing is looking at responsibility. We don't have to go into Black Law's 4th edition or anything. Just looking at the most common understanding of it. that as far as responsibility, it says that it is the state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or of having control over something, such as a woman who bears a child would have to take the responsibility for that child. Also states that the state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something, such as a group has claimed the responsibility for starting whatever. Okay. Also, the opportunity or ability to act independently or make decisions without authorization. A thing that one is required to do as a part of their job, role, or legal obligation. And finally, a moral obligation to behave correctly toward or in respect of whatever that might be. Institution, religion, what have you. And of course, tie back bridge into religion. We're speaking of that which you were once aligned to, with, and connected to and with, as in your legion, historically. Your heritage and connection to your hereditament. All right. We're going to look at it from the context of response able. And that is being able to respond appropriately. That your response reflects one's ability to act upon whatever scenario or situation, circumstance that might be, responsibly. Because that is response able. This movement is not a revolution. Revolution means simply revolving around and around and around. That's a revolution. Going around in circles. Which to a certain degree, I guess, one could say that it has been from time to time. Acting in that manner. However, what it is now is an evolution. We're not revolutionists, we are evolutionists. And there are certainly matters in which there is no abdicating responsibility of and to the way some sheiks have been acting irresponsibly. Now, it's important that sheiks understand that as awkward as it might appear or seem to be, the answer, I don't know, is a legitimate answer. Well, this is some sound effects that were appropriate. If you want to even improve that answer, that legitimate answer, I don't know, then you can say, I don't know, but I'll research it and try to secure a substantive, meaningful response. Now, that's being responsible. All right? Being responsible means to not kick the can down the road. Not to address an issue because you either don't know the answer to it, or you, like the emperor's new clothes, you don't want to be found out that you are unaware of something. Which there's no shame in not knowing something. We know that many don't know. that they don't know. But we also know many know. They do know. All right, I'll say that again so you'll understand. We know that many don't know that they don't know. However, we also know that many know they don't know. So, responsibility is another compound concept worth analyzing. And that it's looking at this from the viewpoint of one's ability to respond appropriately. And often what is determines superior authority is the manner in which that authority proactively claims responsibility, opposed to, as I said, abdicating that authority or that responsibility, kicking it down the road. That's what abdicating is. Or saying that that's someone else's responsibility, shying away from it because it makes you feel uncomfortable, because you don't know the answer, or that the circumstance that you're claiming to be the responsible authority over or for or of, you don't have it within yourself to simply say, I don't know, let me find out the appropriate answer and get back with you on that. That's legitimate. And that's appropriate. Now, in addition to saying life is an illusion, albeit a persistent one, Einstein also said, I became an authority by challenging it scientifically. I threw in scientifically. And no, I have absolutely no problem whatsoever quoting Europeans, because my research has always proven most of their quotes turn out to be our quotes without proper attribution. And even more importantly is the fact that Europeans are not my enemy. My enemy is stupidity. And there is no statute of limitations on stupidity. I am unequivocally claiming the authority as well as responsibility to proclaim and declare for and to all Aboriginal and Indigenous Moorish Americans the following. And to all perpetrators of these dishonorable, evil crimes, you should also comprehend there is no exception whatsoever, as well as for whomsoever these inexcusable, disrespectful, disgraceful, foul, and immoral crimes may apply. There is no escaping justice. The proclamation is a simple one. Abuse is not a private matter. Domestic abuse, otherwise under any circumstances, any condition, physical abuse, is no longer a matter to remain closeted. Our Aboriginal and Indigenous Moabites are to be respected. We are a civilized people who will not condone domestic violence, period. Harming women is dishonorable. It is a crime. not to be tolerated under any conditions or circumstances. And with zero ambiguity, comprehend, no means no. There are no statutes of limitation on dishonorable, despicable acts. They're not to be condoned. No circumstance justifies any individual placing their hands on any female. Abuse is not a private matter, domestic or otherwise, or under any condition or circumstance. And it is not to be closeted. And I'll repeat, our Aboriginal and Indigenous Moabites are not to be disrespected. And victims are not to be rejected, they are to be protected. And as far as going outside of our community for assistance in a situation of domestic violence, until we have our own infrastructure in place to deal with such matters, call the police and lock their asses up. We'll sort out the Moorish stuff later. This is a matter that I'm very passionate about. Those that may have thought that they have escaped justice, it's just been delayed. And the only way that one can even begin the process of making amends with respect to something of that foul, horrific nature is sincere and earnest remorse. There will be put into place appropriate mechanisms, means, vehicles to deal with this. But someone had to be responsible, able to respond without being concerned about it being an uncomfortable subject. This is serious stuff, people. Domestic abuse is dishonorable, and it is a crime. And it's not to be protected in our community. Nothing, under any circumstances, justifies it. We look forward to seeing and hearing from all of you regarding this last message. And please feel free to email us at moorsdirectory.com with any comments that you might have regarding this matter. And until episode 8, continue to prosper. Peace and love.